And the Western Bulldog champ, Lin Jong, our special guest in studio this morning. Lin also is an ambassador for the East Timor Hearts Fund. You can head to easttimorheartsfund.org.au. And before we welcome Lin, let's have a listen to Lin's passion for this cause.
As a professional athlete, good health is my life. It's easy to take health and medical services for granted when you've been fortunate enough to be born in one of the luckiest countries on the planet. But I know everyone isn't that lucky. My dad, Vitor, was born in East Timor. He fled the country when he was only 18 to escape the civil war. Last year, I was able to meet 13-year-old Paolo and have a kick with him after his life-changing heart operation. Being able to see him run and chase the ball and be able to share that experience with him changed my life as well.
They're great citizens, our AFL footballers. They get out and do wonderful things in the community.
Yeah.
Lin Jong joins us. Hello, mate. Good to catch up with you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Great to see you, and talk us through your passion for this and the heritage. And firstly, can we make sure we get your name right, because there's been a few dramas across the
A
weekend.
few variations at times.
Well, it's one of those names that we want to say quickly. Lin Jong, when we call you playing football, and I think BT might have gone with a Lin Jong. Has he got that right? Where do we sit?
Yeah, so it's Jay, so Jong. That's
Pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, my parents have always told me it was Jong. So I'll stick
LJ,
with
can I
that.
call you LJ?
LJ's fine. Yeah, good.
So Lin Jong. Hey, Lin, tell us about your family background. Tell us about the connection with the Timorese society and your family lineage there.
Yeah, so Dad obviously was born in East Timor, which is I guess why I have that kind of close connection to this charity, and was a reason why I jumped on board.
And came out at the age of 18, so you escaped the civil war there in Timor. Has that been part of your story growing up and understanding that heritage?
Yeah, a little bit. I probably didn't appreciate it much when I was a bit younger, but I guess now that I'm a bit older and matured, I understand it a bit more, and I guess have a bit more compassion for it and understanding of what he kind of went through.
I thought what you did last year was one of the most courageous things I've seen in football. Broke his collarbone, Mick, heading into the final series for the Bulldogs. 16 days after surgery, came back and played in the VFL Grand Final, which they went on to win. Lin won the medal for best on ground, the VFL Grand Final.
Yep.
Bittersweet, because you would have definitely been playing in the AFL Grand Final had that injury not taken place. And they strapped up your other shoulder. Old school, they went...
I remember that story.
Target the other shoulder, and you got through beautifully.
Yeah, it was kind of a plan coming into the game. The physios and docs kind of recommended it, but I wasn't too sure about it. I figured, if we strap it, then it kind of it made me think subconsciously anyway that my shoulder was still a problem. So heading into the game, I was against it, but then they kind of decided last second, so we got that done, and I was pretty glad because the Casey boys kind of worked it out a bit, and I think after the game, my other shoulder was more sore than my actual
And of
collarbone.
course, that is historical resonance because that's what Charlie Sutton did in the 1954 Grand Final.
Absolutely.
He had a thigh injury, strapped up the other thigh so that when they were whacking into it, they got his good thigh, not his bad thigh.
His Footscray, they're borderline cheats.
That's it.
That is
mate,
close.
You
to
take that back
Can
and
I
apologise now.
How many free kicks you got this year?
Not enough, Lin.
No, not too many. I
Not
don't
too
think
many?
I've gotten a handful, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
And all of them deserved. And
All right.
talk us through a number of big-name players to come back. The Bulldogs have had fairly big injury lists so far. Who do you think will be available this week, and will there be some changes?
I think we got a few boys coming back. There's Bob. I think Ruffy just come back from the VFL last week. Mitch Wallace has been in for a few weeks.
Dale Morris, potentially?
Dale Morris as well, yep. Clokey. Tory Dixon's been out for a little while, but he seems pretty fit and good to go, so we should have a few more names up for a selection.
So will you be there next year or will you be at Collingwood? Because I know you did do a tour of what was then the Holden Centre. I think it gave you a floor plan and you went in after hours and you
Explain this
checked out the
because-
new digs.
I think
and
he got
that was-
lost and he had to wander
Well,
through, and this has
sadly,
been
I'd
blown
like
out
to
of
hear your
proportion.
side of the story because I've heard these two bang on about it for almost a year now. What happened? What were the circumstances?
So I guess leading up to it, I was out of contract, seeing what options were out there. My manager kind of told me, look, Collingwood want to meet up. I think it's a good idea. I wasn't, fully aware of the whole touring process, but
The
You
story
became
that I
aware
was
of it,
told, Lynn, was that you had toured the centre as a kid because Collingwood were going to rookie you, and the Bulldogs got in first back in the day. and you were having a meeting at the club, and you thought, well, let's go for a walk around. It was in the evening, and I think there's some VFL players.
Well, hang on,
fun.
he's leading the witness here. What is
Yeah.
that?
No, well,
Your
that's
version
under the
of
cover of
events, or-
darkness.
Oh, no,
yeah.
but he
I
can-
said, let's get
Yeah.
Lynn's version.
I'm
of
happy
events
to.
for a
Lynn's
change.
got no connection
I
to me.
object to that.
Just stepped in.
Oh,
haven't you?
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was what I was told because I asked. I want to know if it's got if they're lying to me or not.
No, you're right. That was the second time I've been through. I went through before I got drafted. I guess I was hopeful to play for Collingwood back then. And so, yeah, we did the tour, and there were a few people around, so I was a little bit suspect about that. And but after I left, I didn't think too much of it, and it obviously came out in the media. So that was a pretty stressful week.
And the Bulldogs boys presented you with a Collingwood jumper at training. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. They treated it as a bit of a joke, so that was actually really good because just to, I guess, not take it too seriously, and all the players kind of understood my position, so it all turned out okay.
Would you like to do a tour of Punt Road? Would you like to pencil that one in?
Ask me next year. And
You stay way away from there, Lynn. Don't go down to the dark side.
You can wear number 4 if you like next year.
And what you've done is
Stop it, mate. I tell you.
you've backed yourself into a side that won the premiership and had, arguably, the most improved midfield, and you've found a permanent spot and your own form. You must be really happy. 7 games in or 8 rounds in, and you've had personally a great start to the year.
And going through where I wanted to play, it was kind of where I was most happiest and where I think I could play. And like you said, I kind of backed myself in to keep on improving and to really cement my spot in the team. And I never really feel comfortable saying that because I know I've been through it where you get kind of in and out of the team. But yeah, I think this year I found a lot more consistency in my game, and I'm just feeling a lot more fitter and stronger in general.
Hey, Lin Jong, can you take us through the just early days, your journey into football as a first-generation Australian? And a lot of people in this situation, right throughout the history of football, what was it about AFL that attracted you? And just take us through what it was like as a kid of East Timorese background, playing footy in the suburbs.
I guess growing up, I didn't really have much of an idea about football, especially with mum and dad. They honestly had no idea, to be honest. And I guess growing up in school, there was always football around, but I never
Where'd you grow up?
Just Glen Waverley.
Yep.
So I kind of never really got involved until I guess school football in high school, and so I started playing when I was 15. I had local friends that were playing for the local club. So that made it, I guess, an easier stepping stone into starting to play. I probably felt a bit uncomfortable at first, probably just knowing I was a bit different to everyone else. But then
Did you cop a bit?
Not too much.
Not too much?
Good. Once you start playing, you just kind of you feel like you belong in the team, and especially with my friends. So it was the transition was really easy.
How long did it take from under 15s, first game, to feeling like you were playing the game and part of the whole situation and not an outsider because you hadn't played before?
Probably a couple of years, because playing in under 15s, and then all of a sudden, you're trying out for TAC Cup squads, and there's all these other new faces that you're trying to meet and see, and again, I was probably the only one of my kind of background, and so again, going through the TAC Cup system and then finally getting drafted to the club, probably only felt comfortable only a couple of years in as well.
Only Timorese Australian AFL player in the history of the game. It's a name that rolls off the tongue. It's a bit like Eddie Betts. You want to say Lin Jong every time you go near the ball, and it's great to see you out there, mate. Thanks for dropping by. Hey, East Timor Hearts Fund.org.au. Great passion of Lin Jong's, and great to meet you and catch up today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.